This is a little embarrassing. To be honest, this was originally going to be a games I played in 2013 list, but I stupidly did not keep tabs on the games I played last year, and pretty much everyone already did that list anyway. So screw it, it's time to kick it old school with a good old-fashioned most anticipated games list. Yeah, I know it's a little late for something like this, but hey, better late than never, right? I have only 2 rules for this list. The games on here must have at least a tentative 2014 release date, which means no Final Fantasy XV or Kingdom Hearts 3. And since it is already March, those games that have come out already this year won't be featured either. So no Bravely Default, and no Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Also, since I do live in the United States, this list obviously applies to games that have yet to be released here specifically. So if you see any games on this list that have already been released in other regions, well, that's why. So, without further delay, these are the Disciple of the Hado's top 10 most anticipated games of 2014. As of March. The Order, 1886. Now, in my opinion, Ready at Dawn Studios have already earned their chops in my book, between the excellent PSP God of War games and, of course, the Wii port of Okami. But The Order 1886 is the studio's first original IP, and in fact, creative developer Ruira Surya has already gone on record saying that this game is the main reason behind the studio's development. So needless to say, this game has a lot to live up to. To be honest, the main thing that drew me to this game was its style. The game has a very gothic Victorian / steampunk horror atmosphere to it, between technology far before its time and stories of wars between humanity and the demonic half-breeds. Just the steampunk aspect alone was enough to hook me, but as we are admittedly drip-fed new details, I'm only growing more anxious. That being said, though, the main reason this is only number 10 on this list is because what I just mentioned is really all we know about the game. We have yet to see any extended, in-depth gameplay of it. Either way, I have full confidence in Ready at Dawn, and I'm sure the wait will be worth it when The Order 1886 launches in fall 2014.
We shall prevail, and order shall be restored.
Watch Dogs. This game has become a bit infamous in recent months, having originally supposed to have launched alongside the PS4 and Xbox One, but ending up delayed practically last second and even supposedly being cancelled at one point. But rest assured, Watch Dogs is still very much a thing, and Ubisoft seems to be making full use of the extra time they bought themselves. Like The Order, the premise of Watch Dogs was what piqued my interest, taking place in an alternate Chicago, Illinois, being run by a supercomputer system known as the Central Operating System, or CTOS, which controls literally every piece of technology in the city. The main character, Aiden Pierce, is an experienced hacker who can break into the CTOS and do pretty much anything from looking through security cameras to controlling streetlights to even stealing other people's bank information. The fact that the game seems so story-focused is refreshing in my opinion. As part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of sandbox games is because a lot of them, particularly more recent ones, seem to push story off to the side to just focus on being goof-off simulators. On the multiplayer side of things, the feature that's been touted most so far is an online drop-in, drop-out option that allows a player to jump into another single-player game and potentially hack them to steal some of their resources. This, I'm admittedly wary of. On the one hand, the developers have shown that it is limited to only 2 players, and that the player who gets hacked can stop the hack if they manage to track the second guy down and either chase them off or kill them. But on the other hand, I do wonder if this could potentially become a problem with others dropping in on your game and trying to hack you while you're on an important mission or something. If they make it so players can only drop in while you're between missions, or better yet, give you the option to turn the feature on and off, that would assuage my concerns a bit. But that aside, just the thought of what's possible in this style of play fascinates me. Being able to control practically any piece of technology in the city, imagine the amount of options to tackle a certain situation that gives you. I don't know about you, but you better believe I'm looking forward to using those cameras to help me do some major stealthing, like a cyber ninja. Needless to say, this game has the potential to become a major standard for next-gen sandbox games, and I cannot wait to dive in. And honestly enough, the version I've got my eyes set on is, in fact, the Wii U version, as the console's gamepad is basically tailor-made for the hacking features of this game. Now, whether or not Ubisoft acknowledges that as well is anyone's guess. But I guess we'll see for ourselves when Watch Dogs hits in summer 2014.
I'll make you understand that you'll never be free again.
Number 8 is actually a tie between two games from the same franchise, both slated to hit this year. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse and Shantae Half Genie Hero. Nintendo's unfortunately underrated Half Genie heroine Shantae has thankfully seen a rise in popularity in recent times, and these two games are definitely a major reason for that. Starting with Pirate's Curse, this game is the third game in this series and sees Shantae forming a rather volatile partnership with her nemesis Risky, in an attempt to regain her powers after the events of the ending of Risky's Revenge. While originally planned for release last year, Pirate's Curse's release is spilled into this year, with WayForward keeping its fans up to date with the happenings of the game. And I think it'll be interesting to see how it stands alongside the other game, Half Genie Hero. Yeah, we've all heard about the Kickstarter that this game is fueled on, and really, I think just that makes it worth the purchase. But WayForward seems to be making full use of their resources. Half Genie Hero is to be Shantae's console debut, and so the developers are doing their best to pack the game full of as many extras as they can afford, with additional story modes, costumes, chapters, all that good stuff. One thing I am thankful for is that they didn't feel they had to try anything drastically different, like a new art style or something like that. And with the series jumping from a handheld exclusive to consoles after so long, this would have been very tempting. But nope, they're just focusing on improving and polishing what made the previous Shantaes great, with input straight from the players no less. While neither game has an exact release date yet, they're both at least confirmed for this year. So, would that make 2014 the year of Shantae? I know I would be down for that. Mario Kart 8. Come on, what can I say about this one? It's freaking Mario Kart, all spruced up and ready for the new generation. And when I say spruced up, I mean spruced the hell up. I mean, look at this game. These have to be the best graphics on the Wii U so far. But aside from that, there are some new styles of race with hovercrafts that let you race on vertical walls and even completely upside down, as well as some new characters to play as, most notably the Koopalings. But at its core, it's the same fast, frantic Mario Kart we've all come to look forward to with each new Nintendo console. Now, admittedly, I'm a little behind on my Mario Kart. I still have yet to play through Mario Kart's Wii or 7. But hopefully I'll be caught up by the time Mario Kart 8 launches on May 30th this year.
I don't know if there's any honor left on the frontier. I don't know if there ever was. I just know I'm gonna make them pay.
Titanfall. Yeah, we've all heard about this game by now. Developed by Respawn Entertainment, a studio comprised of most of the X-Infinity Ward guys who actually give a damn, Titanfall is looking to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to next-gen online shooters. While I admittedly wasn't able to get on the beta personally, everything I've seen of the game so far has completely rekindled my hope in the genre. The gameplay of Titanfall is fast, frantic, tactical, and most importantly, balanced. There are no overpowered killstreak rewards, no exploitable glitches, and no one player or loadout ever seems to be overall better than another. Basically, there's no tricks this time around, and it's just going to be a matter of focusing on your own skills, your jump pack, and of course your Titan mech. And I know what you're thinking. Between the ground combat and mech combat, how in the name of Lord Zeus have they gone about balancing this crazy romp of a game? Trust me, that was one of the first things I had concerns about too, and I gotta say, I'm actually really pleased with what they've presented us with. First off, and this should be at least somewhat obvious, while Titans are by no means slow, in fact they're surprisingly nimble for their size, they're still far outclassed by pilots when it comes to mobility. The second point comes in the form of the three-weapon loadout the pilot has access to, which consists of your standard primary and sidearms, as well as a dedicated anti-Titan weapon. Third is the rodeo system. Yes, that's what it's called. This mechanic allows pilots to jump onto the back of an occupied Titan and either disable it from the outside if hostile, or just ride piggyback if friendly. On the other side of the spectrum, Titans sport only two weapons, one of which is fixed, which are far superior in power when compared to anything that pilots have, but are hampered by long reload times. Titans also have a number of defensive countermeasures, such as an eject option, which prevents them from being explosive death traps for the controlling pilot, a sort of telekinetic but not really vacuum shield that can deflect incoming fire from enemy Titans. Please tell me I was not the only one who was reminded of Bioshock by this. And this kind of electric mist that damages and repels enemy pilots who may try and climb on. There is a perk system of sorts with the burn card mechanic, but it works a bit differently in this game. For one, you're limited to exactly which of these cards you can use, with them apparently only being rewarded to you if you make at least top 3 in your last match, and even then, the exact cards you get are completely random. For 2, the effects of these cards aren't as much buffs as they are passives, and for 3, they only last until you die, and once you do, the card or cards you have equipped are gone for good. And since you can equip up to 3 of these cards at a time, once you're leveled a bit, it becomes a real case of risk versus reward. I'd say that my only complaint so far is that it is a multiplayer-only game, even with the campaign mode being just a set number of multiplayer matches on a specific order with maps interlaced with dialogue and scripted sequences, and that for some stupid reason the PC version requires Origin. But those complaints aren't deal breakers for me, and I'm ready to get my mecha on when Titanfall drops March 11th on the PC and Xbox One. Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix. We freaking called it. As soon as we learned about the first Kingdom Hearts HD collection, we knew there was no way Square would be getting away with only doing half of the story. And now here it is, right on schedule. Of course, being the sequel to the first Kingdom Hearts HD collection, Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix features HD ports of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix and Birth by Sleep Final Mix, marking the first time these games have been released outside Japan. Yeah, it also features the cutscenes from Recoded, but, you know, coded. What else is there to say? I'm most excited for what you're most excited for. New areas, new bosses, new items, all that good stuff we in the States have been begging for since the game's release in Japan. And now our wishes will finally be granted when Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix drops this year.
これより全世界に宣戦布告する。あなた方出来損ないの人形どもはすべて根絶やしにする。未来を悲観しろ。
Guilty Gear Xrd. I will admit, while I knew the PS4 would be getting some exclusive fighting game to compete with the Xbox One's Killer Instinct, this isn't exactly what I was expecting. But who cares? Look how crazy this game looks! Listen to that music! Listen to that music!
Back to back, just now they're running on a midnight train. Back to back, conscience is swimming to the air.
One thing you've probably already noticed is that this game has fucking amazing visuals. The Guilty Gear series has always been notable for its impressive visuals, and Xrd is actually implementing a very interesting style this time around. As you can see, this is the point where the series is foregoing sprites and instead opting for fully rendered 3D character models. but with limited animation to maintain the feel of sprites. This is great because while it gives the series a brand new look with probably the best cell shading to date, it retains the same sense of fluidity of its predecessors. The current arcade roster is admittedly a little on the short side with no real big surprise inclusions, but any good fighting game veteran knows that a game's console release typically comes with additional characters and content. But even with that, the fact of the matter is that the PS4 is getting its own exclusive online fighter, and I cannot wait for when Guilty Gear Xrd lands on consoles this year.
That's my kid, lazy now. What a heavy day.
Guilty Gear Xrd.
Infamous Second Son. The Infamous series is the greatest exclusive series Sony has to offer. No, I don't care what you're planning on using as a counter-argument because you are wrong. Infamous is the best Sony exclusive franchise ever! Set 7 years after the good ending of Infamous 2, Second Son focuses on a new protagonist by the name of Delsin Rowe, who comes to blows with the newly created U.S. Department of Unified Protection, a new anti-conduit bureau formed in the aftermath of the events of the previous two games. Delsin himself, of course, happens to be a conduit with the power to control smoke and fire, and this is one of the most interesting aspects of the game. In previous games, Cole's lightning powers gave him the ability to grind along telephone wires and rails to get around quickly. Delsin's smoke powers look to continue this trend by giving him his own unique ways of transportation, like being able to shoot through air vents to instantly get to a rooftop. Infamous 2 also introduced the idea of getting new elemental powers that augment your natural ones. Second Son seems to be planning on expanding this idea even further. In addition to his default smoke powers, it's shown that Delsin also has the ability to absorb the powers of other conduits he battles. Unfortunately, the only additional power we've seen so far is this laser power that they refer to as just Neon. But thankfully, it looks just as awesome as the smoke powers, if not more. Aside from that, Sucker Punch has been a bit uptight with new reveals so as not to spoil too much. And you know what? I'm actually totally down with that. However, Sucker Punch. There are two things I would like to see cleaned up a bit from the previous two games. 1. Work on the morality system so it is not a simple matter of black and white. And 2. Make all the powers exclusive to each side of the moral spectrum equally useful. Those who played Infamous 2 know where this is coming from. But really, even if those two aspects aren't dealt with as much as I personally might like, there is no doubt in my mind that Second Son is going to be a huge exclusive for the PS4. And honestly, probably even a system seller. Hell, it's the whole reason I held off on buying a PS4 right away. But that'll all change once Infamous Second Son arrives March 21st, 2014.
Boy, have you guys got the drop on me.
Super Smash Bros. 4. What, you didn't think this game would escape on hype, did you? Come on, it's a new Super Smash Bros. How could anyone not be excited for it? Unfortunately, that makes the fact that there really isn't much to say about it all the more harder. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to go into some ridiculous depth about everything we know about the game so far, but... Okay, this is literally all we know about the mechanics of the new Smash Bros. So far. It's between Melee and Brawl in how fast it plays, edge guarding has become a major mechanic, and no more tripping. Yes, I know they've shown other things like the return of assist trophies and that some characters are getting their movesets updated, but in terms of major new mechanics, the three I just listed are seriously all we know right now. However, let me justify that with the following statement. I don't care. I am not a competitive Smash player by any means, so big changes to the mechanics that get tournament players all hot and bothered are really just kind of trivial to me. The main thing I'm interested in right now is, you guessed it, the characters. And so far, this is looking to be the strongest roster the series has yet to see. Aside from the returning cast, which on its own is making the whole thing worth it, there are already a bunch of newcomers that I'm looking to take for a spin, like Rosalina, Little Mac, and of course, Mega Man. And while on the topic, my top 5 most wanted characters for Super Smash Bros. 4 would be, in no particular order, Shantae, Rundus, Crystal, Magnus, Klonoa. Wow, that was easy. Anyway, I can't wait to see what the final roster is going to be like. I can't wait to see what features are going to be shared between the two versions of the game, and most of all, I can't wait to see if this game will save the Wii U. As most of you are aware, the Wii U is not doing well. At all. The console is selling even worse than the GameCube, and everyone is accusing it of having no real games after all this time. Of course, gamers like you and me know that's far from the truth, but even that doesn't change the fact that, so far, the Wii U has been a commercial failure. And so now the question is, can Super Smash Bros. Save the console? And if you ask me, I'd have to say...
Maybe.
It seems like the two mainstay games most have come to expect on a Nintendo console are a Smash Bros. Game and a Mario Kart game. While I don't by any means see Mario Kart as a system seller, Smash Bros. I feel has the potential to be. The series has cemented itself as the go-to local multiplayer Nintendo game, and with games in this series even being played at major gaming events like EVO, it's only attracting more and more attention. But will it be enough? I guess we'll find out when Super Smash Bros. 4 launches this year. And with that, only one question remains. What could I possibly be looking forward to more? Nipponichi Software and I have a very tentative relationship. I love their stories, characters, and sense of humor, but I've never been able to really get into their preferred style of game. And in exchange, they've made several attempts to meet me halfway. Unfortunately, they haven't been doing a very good job. For the most part. But that looks like it's about to change. The Witch and the 100 Knight. It's about damn time this game showed up. If you haven't heard of this game, and don't worry, you're not living under a rock if you haven't, allow me to give you the lowdown. The story revolves around the Marsh Witch Metalia, yeah, guess what her name originally was, who after being locked in a stalemate battle with her rival, the Forest Witch Malia, summons a mysterious demon known simply as the 100 Knight to do her bidding and help her finally overpower her rival. The player controls the 100 Knight and sets off across the land of Medea to spread Metalia's will and swamp itself. But the 100 Knight is not completely loyal to Metalia, and so it's possible that it might turn on her. Whether that happens or not all depends on how you go about dealing with your missions and the NPCs found without the game. I know there are plenty of people who don't like games with morality systems in them, but I personally really like them. And knowing this, it's most likely going to lead to some pretty hilarious moments. Even with that though, the main thing I'm interested in is the combat system. Despite being this' first dip into a real-time combat style, the system has already been praised as a new and interesting style. The 100 Knight can equip up to 5 weapons at a time, and the key is to cycle between them while fighting to string together combos. There are also equipable facets that not only change the knight's appearance, but also increase your stats and weapon proficiencies. Then there's the gigacalorie system. As the player acts on the field, their gigacalorie count, which is basically a type of life support, drains over time. Once they're out, their health begins to deplete. This forces the player to manage their G-Cal loss by either utilizing food items or, and I'm not kidding, eating weakened enemies to slow their G-Cal loss. Jeez, how can something so small be so ravenous? And in addition to that, this game just looks freaking gorgeous. And how could it not? The art for this game was done by Takahito Harada himself, the guy responsible for the style of the Disgaea series. But now, with all that said, why am I looking forward to this game so much? What makes me excited for this game so much more than some of the bigger names on this list? Well, because it's a developer who I've really wanted to throw all my support behind delving into a style of game outside of what they're comfortable with. And really, how many other developers can you say that about? And the fact that I'm already interested in literally everything about this game, the story, the characters, the gameplay, and everything, I feel that more than qualifies it to be my most anticipated game of this year. And you better believe that this game is going to take precedence over anything else in my collection when The Witch and the 100 Knight finally arrives in the States March 25th. I'm the Disciple of the Hado. Until next time.